And
Did any of those results surprise you?
yes. One, just as maybe it was my own sort of lack of knowledge with Blackboard, I looked at the faculty, all my documents are numbered, they're clearly numbered. But as a student, they're not. So my documents go 1 through 100. So a lot of times I'd be setting up the course or sending out an email announcement, look at document, number 1 or 2 or 3. And, it came out, gee, we don't know what numbers, what documents are you talking about?
So your view of the document folder was different than theirs,
Exactly.
and the numbering didn't
And
matter.
then
A
they had to
simple little technical thing that can cause a lot of frustration.
Exactly.
But once it's cleared up, made a big difference.
It really did.
Okay.
Something else that came out, use of video, that they wanted a little bit, so those visual learners want a little, and so I was able to easily kind of bring in some YouTube stuff or just even some other DVDs, things, short little instructional
Real
videos.
world examples.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then I always, I thought with the bigger group, I was thinking about, I would like to have some field trips. Very difficult, it's easy to do when you have 30, 40, you can break them up into 2 groups. But even from that report, I went ahead and with the logistics, I was kind of treated like an incident command kind of system, that we were able to run the groups through Department of Lab Animal Resources, and I have a hazardous material management facility in Central Sterile. So just with some extra planning, where normally I would have cut that off, that's something that they like that hands-on, or there was a group, I went ahead and I did that, and I think it was a good outcome.
Now you said you did a second set of focus groups?
Right.
Towards the end of the course?
Exactly.
And
so
your
another
intent
5
there
weeks.
was?
Again, just to see have the changes I made,
Okay.
what were they quantifiable? Was it measurable?
So
And then also I still had
definitely
another.
continuous quality improvement.
That's exactly.
Okay.
And so we reinforce that. And then also certainly, and that took less time to get that, and I was able to, it was kind of clear, but there was still some extra tweaking going on, or so students who I hadn't reached, or what else can I do? So it was really there was this back and forth, and I figured that set me up for then I felt prepared, I would get a better evaluation at the end of the remaining 5 weeks of the course. So it was this complete sort of beginning, middle, end, and just I thought that I was getting a better quality evaluation, just more focused. Because even my evaluation's another disadvantage, I don't get 100%. So I liked having everyone available, that I had the whole class, except maybe the 1 or 2.
When you say 100% don't participate in the evaluation.
So for the most part, if I do 60 or 70%, that's usually kind
that's
of like
the end
number.
of semester surveys.
Right. But still the idea of working in consensus, and I think you're having the outsiders come in, that I'm not directing that, it just helped drill down on really what the group was really saying. So as you hit it before, if someone just couldn't dominate, or if they had one pet peeve, they said, well, that's not really true, or you know what, there was a change, there was a tweak, and that that's not going on. So we're able to sort of filter that piece out.
So what would you say the relative advantages and potential disadvantages are of mid-semester evaluation versus end-of-semester evaluation?
They go hand in hand. I really see no disadvantage now, and I'll continue to do it with all the courses that I work with, because I'm working with different groups. Now, I'm not sure. We probably will have 80. I'll have a top-out kind of class lecture in the spring, but definitely this would be part of my agenda, and I'll really be talking about that from the very beginning.
So you said there's no disadvantages. Are there advantages to the mid-course evaluation?
Just that I can get this direct pulse, Graham, on what's happening with the class and with this large class. I think at the end the disadvantages is again it's unit, it's just individual, and I'm not getting all the information. It's kind of staged, and so it's not helping me all that much in making
What's not
changes.
helping you?
The end of the year evaluation.
But the mid one.
I mean, it's a general sense. I'm not saying it's a maybe small e, whereas I think my mid, when it's just live, it's proactive, I can make some changes, not only in the future, but also just with this class right now. So it just helps me get into that, and I can engage, this large lecture hall better. And keep in mind, too, and I've been pushing, I don't have a teacher assistance. So you're there. The other kind of piece, again, I'm an academic professional, a professional academic, so these courses are in the evening. So this is a 4:30, and I teach on a Tuesday, Thursday, so the students are there from 4:30, a little late in the day, a little different, 4:30 to 8:30, on those given lecture nights. So whatever I can do to bring in the energy, to bring in the added value, to help that process, it's a tool that I'm going to use.
Okay. Did you see an impact on student learning?
Yeah, big, huge. It was, and that's why I said I'd continue it. And what I didn't do, and I'll expand for next year, is the HAN 478. That's a little smaller group, and I am working with mentors who, whether they're out in the field, but still from that experience, that's one of the ways that I would expand and do after they've been with their internship projects and with their project leaders for 5 or 6 weeks, or maybe into like they've had 40 hours experience, also bring in how is it going, have a small focus group. Because I have about 30 interns that I have to direct, and that's another big volume. And it's tough to keep track of them all. I'm getting weekly updates from them, but still I think as a group, if I broke them down and they can share their experience, also would be a good learning. How is their internships going? And I also try to have that mix, that synergistic effect between the various internships themselves. So there's more sharing of information. They're not in a silo.
Okay. And personally, do you feel it's impacted your sense of your own teaching?
You know, I'm always I'm an explorer. I think I heard that from your other guest, and always want to be creative, want to change things up. And even if I feel I'm on Will Rogers said, if you're on the right track, you have to keep on, still get run over by a train unless you move. So I think it's a good check, good reflection from my teaching style. And that's a way how I use that, and just looking to improve. I think most teachers are looking for that perfect course. It's like the surfer of the perfect wave. And it keeps you going. So even this whole, I spend the off season, working certainly for more internships, making better connections, but also you're always thinking about the course. How can I add this piece? How can I add that piece? So this has really given me this new tool, almost like an analytical tool, to drill down that I didn't really have the previous eight semesters. So I'm feeling good about that.
Okay. So I have to ask, the end of semester evaluations, were they better?
I would say yes, they were. I don't look at them all that closely. Yeah, they were up in certain categories. I think it was a little bit of a challenge, as I said, moving from 50. It was a little bit of shock moving from 50 to 80. That kind of touch. But no, I did see.
So even with a significantly larger class, your evaluations.
Yeah. And in my own mind, I think they would have been a lot worse unless I was making those adjustments. Okay. That's on that other end. That I think they would have been not to my liking.
Are the students worried about confidentiality during this process?
That didn't come up.
End of semester stuff, we all know the scores are protected.
Yeah.
You don't get to see them until the grades are out. Mid-semester, they could suspect that you're seeing the stuff. Well, you are seeing the stuff, although it's anonymous.
Right.
That you could take be offended and it could affect the class. Yeah,
the groups were they were broken down into groups. So there was almost just group one, and I try to make that clear, the intent. So that's important. There's no retribution. I really do want them to be honest, and maybe my own vulnerability, willing to go through this and get and really encouraging it for the good of the course and the good of the school and the good for them. I think there's that trust factor that's important. I think that's easier to build that in a small group, and that's probably my biggest challenge. How do you get your students to trust you, that you have their best interests? And I do that through a number of ways. The references, as I said, trying to get them transition. Are they going to graduate school? Are they going to go to dental school? They want to be doctors? They want to go into the safety professional? So really everyone in our group and all the professors, we really make a focus so that they know we're concerned, we're available, and I think this is just one way that we show it in a concrete kind of manner.
Okay. Ed, thank you for being on the show today.
It's a pleasure, Brian.
Okay. If you have any questions for our guests, you can post them on the blog on the TLT website at tt.stonybrook.edu, where you'll also find the direct contact information for Ed. I'm Graham Glynn. I look forward to seeing you on the next exciting episode of Innovations in Education.